Intro to English Speaking and Pronunciation. Video 4, the 10 Basic Vowel Sounds. Part 1. What are vowels? There are two definitions for a vowel from dictionary.com. A speech sound produced without occluding, diverting, or obstructing the flow of air from the lungs, as opposed to a consonant, which uses different points of articulation in the mouth to aid in the production of the sound. Also, one of the 5 letters from the English alphabet representing these sounds: A, E, I, O, and U. In this video, we will try to connect these two definitions while also highlighting the difficulties students often face in trying to learn them. Problem number 1. There are 5 vowel letters, but many different phonemic representations. The title of this video is called The 10 Basic Vowels, but there are actually only 5 vowel letters in the English alphabet: A, E, I, O, and U. The answer is that each of these letters has at least 2 different phonemic representations. The 5 vowel letters have at least 2 different phonemic representations, which can be categorized as long sounds, also referred to in this video as alphabet sounds, and short sounds, also referred to as relative sounds. We will introduce these sounds along with their IPA symbols in just a moment. First, let's demonstrate with an example. For example, a long or alphabet-sounding word, hate. Notice how the A in the word sounds exactly the same as its name or label in the alphabet. Hat. Notice how the A sounds shorter when compared to the example on the left. Also, notice how both words appear almost the same, except for that final E. That will be important. Notice how this word is missing the final E. That will be important. Problem number 2. What's the most effective way to learn the 10 basic vowel sounds? What's the most effective way to learn the 10 basic vowel sounds? The answer is that English is a rhythm-based language, with shorter and longer beats. The best way to learn this information is to think of these as rhythmic ideas. It's best to think of these sounds as rhythmic in nature, similar to notes or beats in music. Each note has a different length of time. Some are shorter, some are longer, some are shorter. This is very different from other languages, where vowel sounds are of more equal length. At first, it is hard for students to hear these differences, or even to comprehend the idea of differently timed vowel sounds. Therefore, it's probably most effective to visualize these sounds, in order to teach your brain and your ears to perceive these differences. We are going to use a technique called rubber band hands, which will help in comparing and contrasting the 2 different vowel sounds. In addition, notice how the shape of the mouth is going to be important in helping to make these sounds. Let's begin with the long or alphabet sounds. Follow along and imitate. The long or alphabet sounds: A,
A, cake, male, E, E, T, feet, I, ice, pie, O, cone, road, ooh, blue, school.
Now watch as we demonstrate the short or relative sounds. Follow along and imitate.
The short or relative sounds. Ah, ah, pan, bat, eh, eh, 10, well, eh, eh, is, fish, ah, top, rock, uh, cup, love.
Finally, watch as we place the sounds side by side. Compare the long or alphabet sounds to the short or relative sounds.
Comparing the long or alphabet sounds to short or relative sounds. A, ah, E, eh, I, eh, O, ah, ooh,
You can find a link to all of this information in the About section below this video on our YouTube channel. Problem number 3. How can I tell the difference when I read? How do I know when to use a long sound or a short sound when I pronounce a word I am reading? Answer: there are some basic spelling rules you can learn to help you identify which sound to use. Note, there are also many exceptions to these rules, but this will help you get started. Long or alphabet spelling rules. Number 1. 2 vowels, 1 sound. The first vowel makes its long sound. The second is silent. For example, the grapheme AI in the word main. The A makes its long A or alphabet sound, and the I is silent. Number 2. The silent E. The vowel before the consonant silent E at the end of a word makes a long sound. For example, cake. The A makes its sound. The E at the end is silent. Number 3. IGH, EIGH. The I makes its long sound, the GH digraph is silent. The EIGH makes the A sound. For example, the grapheme IGH in the words night and fight, and in the grapheme EIGH in the words ate and slay. Number 4. The open vowel at the end of a word. For many short words, the final vowel makes its long sound. For example, in the words me, go, she, and we. For short or relative spelling rules, there is basically one rule. If it's just one vowel finished with a consonant, then the single vowel in between the first and last consonant of a short word will be its relative sound. For example, met, pot, hat, bud, sit. Judy Gilbert. How often do the vowel rules work? Judy Gilbert, the author of the excellent pronunciation textbook series Clear Speech, has compiled a list of these rules and how often they can accurately predict spelling in English. According to her, citing Carney, 1994, page 104, most of the two-vowel spelling rules work around 80% of the time on average, with some as high as 100% and others as low as 32%, depending on the vowel combination. The one-vowel rule works around 75 to 80% of the time as well on average, with some as high as 91% and others as low as 66% of the time. You can find a link to Judy Gilbert's Teaching Pronunciation, the Prosody Pyramid, below in the About section of this video on our YouTube channel. Look on page 47 for a complete list of the spelling rules and how often they work. Problem number 4. How and why did all of this happen? The answer is that English has been influenced by many languages, which greatly affected its vocabulary, pronunciation, and spelling.
As you may recall from video 2, English began as a consonant-based language that changed to a more vowel-based language over time. During the period referred to as Old English, 5th century AD to 11th century AD, vowels were more uniform in length, and there were many different variations in regional dialects that made communication across groups sometimes a challenge, though many shared a lot of the same word origins. After the Norman conquest in 1066 AD, Old Norman, or now French, brought an influx of new words, sounds, and even dramatic changes in grammatical structure to the English language. This event and the subsequent French occupation began the period called Middle English, 11th century AD to 14th century AD. Due to these linguistic influences, along with the shifts in populations across England, English pronunciation began to change as it tried to incorporate all of these new sounds. Concepts of spelling words in Old English had already long begun, but there wasn't always widespread agreement, and incorporating these new French and Latin-based words made the process even more difficult at the time. At the end of the French occupation, English underwent a radical period of pronunciation change called the Great Vowel Shift, 15th century AD to 18th century AD, which helped usher in the period called Early Modern English, 15th century AD to 17th century AD. Because of the influence of French and later Latin and Greek, many vowels began to change in length, with shorter vowels changing little, but longer vowels becoming even longer, and many changing sound completely. Thus, English became more rhythmic in nature, which became extremely important in eventually helping to promote a more standard accent throughout the country. During this time, printing and improved literacy, reading, rates helped to accelerate more standardized spelling rules, which often did not match the current changes in pronunciation. Some words were changed to attempt to preserve a standard idea of English, often changing the spelling of words even though those spellings often didn't make sense. This happened with many words thought to be of Latin origin too. Even if the word came in through French, its spelling would be changed to an older idea of Latin spelling. An example of this evolution. Let's go back to an example we discussed back in video 2, the word knee. Starting with the Old Norse, the word was most likely pronounced with a different vowel sound, similar to the long A, but shorter. The consonant K was pronounced, so most likely this was pronounced as kne. As it moved into Old English, it may have kept that shorter sound while still pronouncing the K. In both Old and Middle English, all of the vowels were pronounced. As vowel sounds began to change during the Great Vowel Shift, many of these two-vowel spellings became monophthongized, which means turned into one sound instead of two, which is why there are several two-vowel spelling combinations that produce only one sound. As many of these vowels became longer, it became harder and harder to pronounce all of the consonants in the older, more Germanic-based words. This helps explain why many words of Germanic origin in English have silent letters but use long or alphabet vowel sounds. Words such as knee, no, straight, night, eight. Just try to pronounce the word knee with both the K sound and the long E sound, knee, and then again without the K sound, knee. Notice how much longer the E sound is in the second example. Try it again. Knee, knee. It's much easier to hear the E in the second example. Spelling tip. Spelling rules are helpful, but it also helps to know the words. Learn more vocabulary.
So, from our video today, our running total of sounds now becomes, at the beginning we were starting with 46, we have learned 24 consonant phonemes. In our video today we addressed 10 basic vowel phonemes. We now have 12 phonemes to go. Part 2, Review. In today's video we began our discussion of vowels, which are the sounds in English that require using our voice and shaping our mouths, but not blocking the sounds in any way. There are 22 total vowel sounds. In today's video, we learned the 10 basic vowel sounds. These 10 basic vowel sounds come from the 5 vowel letters that we have in the English alphabet. The 10 basic vowel sounds can be categorized into 2 groups. The long sounds, also called alphabet sounds because they sound exactly like the 5 vowel letters in the alphabet. And the short sounds, also called relative sounds because in relation to the long sounds, they are shorter in length. English began as a consonant-based language many years ago, but changed into a vowel-based language. This shift made English more rhythmic in nature, depending on alternating long and short sounds, as longer vowel sounds entered the language. There are a few spelling rules that we can follow in order to write and pronounce these sounds, but the rules do not always work 100% of the time. It will depend on the vowel itself. Once again, we have two websites devoted to improving speaking, pronunciation, and spelling: our Speaking and Pronunciation class website and our Vocabulary Development class website. Both of these are available at www.kentonesl.org/class-websites. Once again, I would highly recommend watching Rachel's English on YouTube, another channel on YouTube devoted exclusively to pronunciation issues. In the next video, we will continue our discussion of the remaining vowel sounds and talk more about how to improve our understanding and pronunciation of the 10 basic vowel sounds. See you next time for Video 5, Additional Vowel Sounds and Diphthongs.